welcome to Soul Talk. I am so excited because for today we have Tricia Gomez, who is the creator of Hip Hop in a Box, and she's the global director of Works Integrative Dance. I'm so excited to have Tricia in the house. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. So, I'm excited for us to reconnect because I used to work at Tricia's studio. So I taught a couple of classes at her studio Hype, and I used to work the front desk, right? A little bit as well. That seems
Yeah,
like ages ago. Oh my
I know.
gosh. And we just happened to keep running into one another. So we bumped into each other at, what was that, the Dance Teacher Summit in New York.
Summit.
And
Hmm.
then all of a sudden on Facebook, and our paths kept crossing. And so I was like, you know what? She does have a really awesome story. Dancers absolutely need to hear it. And so now she's a guest on Soul Talk. So I'm so excited. Thank you again for agreeing to do this, Tricia.
No worries. Happy to be here.
Thanks. Okay, so let's just jump right in. When and how did you get into dance?
Well, I was one of those people who I've been taking dance since I was 2,
Mm-hmm.
but I would say I've never had a formal training. So while I've had some fun dance teachers, it was a small town, and I kind of consider myself self-taught. So I was one of those people that when the Roger Rabbit came onto the scene, Bobby Brown, that type of stuff.
Yep.
I would I would videotape it and then slow motion watch it to figure out how to do it on my body, or if I was watching the Nutcracker, again, slow motion videotape. So that's how I started to fall in love with it. And then of course got involved with dance team in high school, and
Mm-hmm.
some kind of way made my college dance team with the LSU Golden Girls and opened up a dance studio in my little town. And then, I'm a huge Paula Abdul fan.
Uh-huh.
So uh, back in the day, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go and try out for Laker Girls. And this was back in 95.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was, on the fast track to becoming a chemical engineer,
Oh, wow.
which I wasn't very happy about it. But
Mm-hmm.
hey, that's what I should have done in the eyes of other people.
Right.
But what I really wanted to do was dance. So, as I said, I was going to go out and audition for Laker Girls, and my goal was to make it past the first cut, and ended up making it all the way through, and
Nice.
ended up booking the job. So I packed up my car and drove on out from Louisiana to Los Angeles, and that was 21 years ago.
All
So
right.
here I am.
And you've been there ever since. Nice.
Yeah. I've been one of those lucky ones who's been able to say I've been a professional working dancer for over 20 years.
That's phenomenal. So then, do you feel like you always knew that you wanted to be a professional, or was it something that you were just open to and just opportunities kept coming, and then one day you looked up and you were a professional dancer?
No, I was a wiggle worm kid, so I was always dancing. And
Uh-huh.
I think I was one of those people who just didn't have a choice. It was, I
Yeah.
kind of think I was born to be a professional dancer.
Mm-hmm.
You always dream about it. You're the kid who's sitting on the sofa watching the Grammys and,
Mm-hmm.
seeing the dancers and wishing you could be one of those. And, but you live in a small town.
Right.
How on earth is that going to be you one day, But I just decided to go for it because I didn't want to be 80 and say, what if?
Right.
What if I would have done that? I wonder what would have happened. So I'd rather fail
Uh-huh.
than not know.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy. What's the
Yeah.
worst that'll happen? You'll fail.
Right. My grandmother always says nothing beats a failure but a try. So absolutely,
Yeah.
you got to kind of just do that. I think that's really cool. I always like to ask dancers how they got started because I never grew up saying I want to be something when I grow up. I think once I may have said I want to be an ice skater, but I didn't I didn't really believe it. And then I didn't grow up with cable in the house, so I wasn't watching videos. I did, however, want to be a fly girl, and I still want to be one to this day. I've been trying to get fly girls back for forever. But anyways, so I just remember how I played, and like you said, I was always moving. I've been dancing since I was 3, and I just never stopped until one day I was like, oh, I guess I can become a professional. Let me see how that goes.
Yeah. I got lucky because my parents, 2 years into college, I told them I wanted to drop out and try to be a professional dancer. And so I was an only child, and they decided that they would treat 1 year in LA as my college.
Nice.
So I basically had a year to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And, after a year, they weren't going to support me anymore. If I didn't make it, I was going to have to go home. So I came out here, and I just think I was naive.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that fear,
Okay.
I guess, and I just didn't know what to expect. So I was just coming out and like, yay, doing the dancing thing.
Right.
And then I kind of got a little disillusioned at the beginning because I flew out, made the Laker Girls.
Mm-hmm.
And then my first real audition other than Laker Girls, my first industry audition, I was sent out through Laker Girls to audition for this pay-per-view show and booked that job.
Nice.
And then one of the girls in the show happened to be from out of town, so I told her she could stay with me, and she had to bring some headshots to her agent. So I went with her to her agent, and she introduced me, and the agent asked if I had representation. I said no. He said, "Do you want representation?" I said, "Sure."
Oh, wow.
He handed me a contract on spot. So here I am. It's a week into me being here in LA.
Right.
I've booked Laker Girls. I've booked this TV show, and I have an agent that has never seen me dance. He's just based on my 1 week history of being here. And then reality set in, Then you go on auditions, and it's far and few in between, and
Yeah, that's really cool though. You had that momentum going at the beginning.
I really wanted to I wanted to steadily make income. So I went out, I kind of targeted those long-term jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like theme parks, like Universal Studios and Knott's Berry Farm, Laker Girls, those were the types of things I went after because I wanted to know that I had a paycheck coming in.
Right.
So I think that's partly why I was able to be so successful for an extended period of time. And, really not have what I would, quote fingers, a real job.
Right.
Until I got injured. And that's when I had to stop performing. And so I had to kind of reinvent myself at that time.
Okay, yes. That's really interesting. So I love, I know we didn't discuss this question, but just hearing your story, inspires me to ask other things. When you say that you booked, a number of things within your first week of being in LA, and then you kind of reality set in. So can you tell us a little bit what that was like? So, it's like the story of most dancers. You audition and then you get some and you don't get some. But I mean, what was that like for you? Did you, how far into that did you start to think, should I be doing something else? Or, you know what I mean? What was that kind of journey like for you?
I don't know if I ever thought maybe I should be doing something else.
Okay.
I do remember having about $12 in my bank account and living off of donut holes because that's all I could afford.
Right.
And I had Laker Girls to count on, but that's, less than minimum wage. Mm-hmm. So, I did have a little bit of money coming in, but, as I was getting towards the end of that year, I happened to book some key jobs. Okay. So, those that took me overseas and paid well and just kind of gave me a little bit of a cash cushion to float myself for a little while.
Nice.
And then when I got injured, then I kind of went back to my roots of teaching because I just wasn't able to, perform and keep up with the changing evolution of extreme dancing that was starting to come about. So, so then I started teaching, and that turned out really great.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, can we backtrack a bit? Can you tell us how you started your first studio? So you started that at a pretty young age, right?
My first studio, I was 17 in Louisiana. I graduated from high school and went to college and opened up my dance studio all at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
do you feel like it was successful?
I think so. I mean, for a college student, I was making pretty good money, Yeah, and it taught me so much, and it just gave me a good confidence boost. Um, so yeah, it's success is an interesting word because how do you measure that? Is
Right.
it financially? Is it, life lessons that you've learned? Is it
Mm-hmm.
connections that you make? There's so many different ways to measure what success is. And I think everything that you do is there for a reason, you know? So I think you got to look deeper into why everything happened.
Yeah. I think everybody's definition of success is different,
Uh,
and I think that's okay,
yep,
you know.
absolutely.
So then you did Laker Girls and you've been in LA for a year. So at what point did you move into your next dance business? How long had you been in LA?
So that was probably, oh gosh, probably around 99.
Mm-hmm.
1999 is 98 is when I got injured. Um, so that was really 3 years into my performing
Mm-hmm.
career. And I dislocated my neck.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Thank gosh. I mean, I was able to, I didn't squeeze or break anything to the point of paralyzing myself, but I was
Right.
definitely out for a little while.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was my first kind of refocusing to start teaching again.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught through Parks and Recreation for a few years. And then in 2003, I decided to open up my dance studio. So that's when Hype Studios came about.
Nice. And Hype is still going on, right? It's still open?
We sold it. I sold it 5 years ago. So
Okay.
it's now called Boogie Zone Utopia.
Oh, Boogie Zone. I remember Boogie Zone when I was
Yeah.
in LA. And they used to do all of those community classes.
Yeah. So now they run and own the whole studio now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really cool. So then how did I guess Hype or did in all of that influence you moving into a different area of dance business, or how did Hip Hop in a Box and now Rhythm Works come into the picture?
Okay. So I think everything happens for a reason, and I think sometimes the best refocusing you get is through tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, about 2 years into me owning the studio, maybe even not even that long, um, I got diagnosed with lupus.
I vaguely remember that. I think I do remember
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
and I was teaching about 21 classes a week
Oh my
at that
gosh.
time, and I needed to cut back tremendously. So at that time, no one was teaching hip hop for little kids,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 8 years and older. But to find someone who knew how to work with kids and knew how to teach hip hop to little kids was just about impossible. So I ended up flying in a guy that I met from, he actually sent me his resume for some reason, from Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
He came in and started teaching my classes for a time period until I could find a replacement. But I just kept saying, I wish I could take what I knew and put it in a format that I can just hand to the teacher and say, here, teach this.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my friends says, why don't you do flashcards, like flashcards with little hip hop steps on it? And I was like, oh my God, that's a great idea. So we kind of started talking about it, and luckily we were right next door to a recording studio.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were going to do the music, they were going to do the video. I had one of my students' moms was a photographer, so she was going to shoot all the pictures. Another student's mom was a graphic artist, so she agreed to do all the typesetting and get it print ready. And it was kind of all done in-house, and we created what's now called Hip Hop in a Box.
Nice.
And I created it for me, but in order to get them made, I had to buy 2,000 of them.
Oh my goodness.
So I had a garage full of Hip Hop in a Boxes, and I thought, oh gosh, what are we gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to start putting it out there, in the magical world of the internet, and
Mm-hmm.
lo and behold, people started buying it, and I started going out to the dance teacher conferences.
Mm-hmm.
And, over the course of a few years, it just really started to pick up. I mean, word of mouth was so key in growing it. I mean, I would go to these conferences and people would just come up to me saying, I've heard of this. Tell me about it. So, but now we're in about 2,200 schools worldwide.
Wow. That's great, Tricia. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. But with RhythmWorks, that was yet another tragic refocusing for me. I got pregnant in 2010, and
really?
5 months into my pregnancy, started bleeding out, and ended up losing my son, and almost died in the process.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry.
But through that process, I had probably the most amazing miracle happen to me that just refocused me and gave me purpose. And I knew that I was left behind for a reason, and I was ready to figure out what that reason was. And so, I started. I would always gotten comments from people asking me about, does Hip Hop in a Box work for kids who have autism and things like that? And I thought, well, yeah, but for some reason I really started getting pulled to want to learn more about that and really want to maybe create something that was specifically for kids who had autism. And I kind of gave myself permission to say yes to opportunity. But you know how people will say, oh, you should meet my friend, or have you read this book, or I'm thinking about taking this class, or but you never go meet the friend, you never take the class, you never read the book. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna say yes. If it starts with have you ever, or you should blah blah blah, or do you want to, I'm gonna say yes and see where it takes me. And through that process, it led me to the most amazing little angels that have come into my life that have helped me define what RhythmWorks was going to be. I started off with an intention. I just knew that I wanted to do something for kids who had special needs, and I wanted it to be global in nature. So I wanted it to be able to benefit kids all over the world, not just in my community.
Okay, nice.
And so with the help of these advisors, we created a program that's so comprehensive, and it works. It's doing amazing things for the kids that we have in class. And it's not just autism, it's Down syndrome and sensory processing and ADHD and undiagnosed learning differences. And it's the success we're having is makes me cry.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I always said performing was for my ego, teaching was for my heart, but RhythmWorks was for my soul.
Oh, I love that.
That's my soul work. And I mean, it's when you figure, to me, I feel like when you find that purpose, it touches you in a different way than anything else.
Absolutely.
It is so not about you. It's not about anything other than how can you do the best thing possible to help the most people possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I feel with the working dancer. And I still have a heart to teach. I love it. And I still have a heart to choreograph. I do a lot of that now. And that's my favorite place to be, is near a stage. But when I hear from a student who says, can I talk to you about my dance career? I'm thinking about doing this. This is, what do you think? And we're able to talk it through. And then they come back a few weeks later and say, hey, I auditioned and I got this. I'm so excited. It literally just, I can't even describe it. Or, I applied for this, internship with this studio in LA and I got it. And, it's like a whole different, it really puts your own life, I think, into perspective.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. That's incredible. So you've had and still have, right, 4 dance businesses in your dance career, which is awesome. Do you feel like you always had a knack for business? Did you take business classes, or how did you learn the business end of everything?
Books. Lots and lots and lots of books. I'm a reader. I also went to the school of hard knocks. I made a lot of mistakes. And I think mistakes are great as long as
Yeah,
you learn from them.
absolutely.
um, but yeah, books, some classes. There's the Small Business Association, which I think most cities have an
Yeah.
SBA.
Hmm.
They have great classes that they offer.
And free. A lot of them they have free
Yes.
classes.
Yeah. And I just really think, even as a dancer, you may not have this giant business, but you need to think of yourself as a business.
Absolutely.
So, learn about QuickBooks and how to
Hmm.
track your accounting. What are the tax rules? What can you write
Hmm.
off? What can you not write off? Um, just constantly growing and how to manage your finances too.
Yep.
You know, there's so much more to it. You really have to kind of not just do it because, yay, dancing makes me feel good,
Yes.
but you have to do it because this is your job. This is your career, and you're the boss of you. So,
Absolutely. I think that's you hit the nail right on the head with that. I mean, you have no idea how much I'm saying that on the website. But it's not just all, dancers. Just to play devil's advocate, I don't recall being anywhere, not in university, not anywhere where people are sitting you down as a performer, as an artist, saying, this is how you need to handle your affairs. This is how you need to present yourself. This is how you need to save. This is what you need to do for taxes. Nobody is teaching anybody anything. So how are we supposed to know? You know what I mean?
from
Or
people like you.
like, no one's saying, hey, this is how you should probably go about setting your rate so that you're not always swindled into doing a gig for exposure only. Like, we need to teach, educate ourselves so that we can no longer be one of the lowest paid art forms, like, don't even get me started. I can go.
Well,
I can go.
and it's hard even as a dance teacher, for some, I don't know why, but we feel guilty for making money.
Yeah.
And then of course you have the parents who come to class and they're like, oh, can I pay next week? I forgot my wallet. And it's like, well, do you go to the grocery store and forget your wallet and ask them if you can come back and pay?
Exactly.
For some reason in the dance world, you feel guilty for making money off of your passion.
Yeah.
And, for this, with the dance studio for many, many years, that's how I felt. We didn't make money for many, many years because I wanted it to be affordable for everyone. And I would rather have 100 people coming a day at a cheap rate than 30 people a day at a more expensive rate. I wanted it to be open to more people, but yet on the other end, I was working myself to death, literally. I got sick from it. So, you just got to, at some point, say, I'm worth it.
Yes. Literally just said that today, was telling people that today. We have to know our worth and be comfortable with charging that. Because other people would be comfortable charging.
And we deserve the same lifestyle as other people have, And I don't think that we should feel guilty for charging for our services.
Amen, honey. Yes. Absolutely. Okay, so then what advice or would you give to someone who's thinking about maybe starting a studio or any other, non-performance type business that's dance related? How would you suggest that they get started? What should they do?
Do your homework. Especially with dance studios, people go, oh, okay, well, my rent's going to be, okay, well, no, I guess it depends on where you live in the world, but, my rent here was just around $9,000 a month. And, okay, great. But then you have electricity, you have phone, you have internet, you have toilet paper, you have ink, you have paper, you have insurance, and not just liability insurance, but workers' comp insurance and payroll taxes and regular taxes. And, there's so many things that you have to think about and walk through it all and say, okay, when it was all said and done, we had to make somewhere between $26,000 to $29,000 a month just to pay our bills.
Wow, just to break even?
Just to break even.
Oh my goodness.
So, people looked at the studio and said, wow, look how successful it is. But yet every month it was like, oh gosh, can we pay our bills? So do your homework before you really, really get involved in something that's going to end up not hurting you, but, bankrupting you or,
Mm-hmm.
blindsiding you in some kind of way. But take the business classes, read the books, talk to people.
Yeah.
It's amazing how helpful people are if you just ask questions.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are just afraid to seem like they don't know
Mm-hmm.
something,
Mm-hmm.
so they don't ask questions. But I swear I've gotten like just by playing dumb, I've gotten so many helpful answers. And I guess not playing dumb, but just being willing to go, can you tell me more about that?
Right. Right.
I didn't understand that. What on earth are you talking about? What does this word mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just ask and people will help you. And somebody always knows somebody who can point you in the direction or, help out and then pay it forward.
Yeah.
Too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's awesome. I have one more quick side question to insert. So you said that at first you wanted the studio to be, available to everyone and affordable, and then something shifted. So did you raise your rates? And
We raised rates a little bit, but I started running it more like a business.
mm-hmm.
So I became, instead of being everybody's friend,
Mm-hmm.
I became the boss. I became the captain of the ship. And we were able to get to a point where we were paying our bills.
Nice.
So we weren't bleeding money, but we were paying bills, and things were still going good. But we did raise rates a little bit here and there. Me personally, I raised my rates. If I were going to do a private lesson,
Mm-hmm.
I raised it to what I wanted.
Yeah.
I have a minimum hourly rate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I set it at. And if people wanted to pay that, great. If they didn't, then we had other teachers who were just as good who charged lower rates.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just have a couple more questions. I know your
Sure.
time is precious. So with that, with everything that you've done in your career, performance, teaching, businesses, what do you feel like has been your biggest challenge or your biggest obstacle?
The lack of ability to clone myself. Time management. That is hard because currently as of right now, I have 2 dance businesses. I also have a skincare business, and my husband and I also have a real estate company.
Oh my goodness.
So we buy old houses, renovate them, and then rent them out. And so it's, keeping up with everything and all the little day-to-day tasks. And it's hard to have the bandwidth to do everything.
Yeah.
Because everything's important and it's all due all at once.
Yeah.
So,
do you have an assistant at least that helps you?
I used to have an assistant, but she just moved to New York, and I'm so sad. So, we're kind of reevaluating the structure of RhythmWorks and, preparing for growth.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the difference. When I had Hype Studios, I kind of did things without thinking it through.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it through, but not like, it was kind of more on the sides of like, well, let's just figure it out as we go.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to do this. Let's figure it out as we go. But with RhythmWorks, the last thing I want to do is pin myself into a job.
Mm-hmm.
I have goals, and my husband and I want to live our lives a certain way, so we're being very specific with the way we design and develop the company as it grows. And when we think of the way something has to happen or a policy and procedure, I'm not thinking of just right now, how do we want to do it? I'm thinking of, how do we want to do this when we have 1,000 people a month getting certified?
Yeah, that's smart.
How do we handle it? How do we, not just over create work just because there's a lot to do, So it's basically keeping it simple, keeping it duplicatable so that I can train other people. It doesn't have to be so reliant on me.
Yeah.
So I've become a much smarter business person.
Nice.
Through that.
So you're putting like systems in place basically so that they can run without you.
Right.
Gotcha. That's smart. It's a very smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Very, very smart.
It's working out.
Great. So, okay, how can people connect with you? Where can they find you?
Yeah. So online, two websites. I have danceinAbox.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's DANCEINABOX.com. And then I have rhythmworksid.com. That's our program for kids who have special needs, but it's a teacher certification program. So not only do we teach you about dance, but we also teach you about sensory processing, behavioral strategies, kinesiology, and movement safety, and how that all ties into creating a dance program that's clinically based. Mm-hmm. So we basically become part of the developmental team with the therapist, but we use dance as a modality to help build the skill sets that they need to reach their goals. So that website is rhythmworksid, RHYTHMWORKSID.com. Mm-hmm. And I'm on Facebook. So facebook.com/Dance in a Box Rhythmworks.
Okay.
And that's, I have other accounts too, Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn, but pretty much I live on Facebook. So
okay, gotcha. So wait, who can be certified?
Anyone. So we certify dance teachers, school teachers, occupational therapists, physical therapists, ABA therapists, speech therapists, mental health professionals, all kinds of people.
Do they have to be in LA to receive the certification, or is this a distance program?
It's a distance program. So we actually travel all over the place. I actually just got back from Boston on Sunday. We had about 40 people in a training there. But I also am excited to finally say we're launching the online training.
Nice.
So at rhythmworksid.com, you can check out the dance teacher certification, and it's really, really intense. It's a lot of information, but even if you're a teacher and you're not going to work with kids who have special needs, this certification will open your eyes to the possibilities and really kind of change the way you think about teaching. Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, it brings in more of an art form to teaching as opposed to just the art of dance, but the art of actually determining what type of learners your students are and how do you need to teach to certain types of learners and support systems that you can give when, kids need either sensory help or behavioral help or, all kinds of different things. It changed me from this. So I used to go into dance class and think, oh, this is that class with that kid who just sucks the life out of me, mm-hmm. right? Because there's always a kid who's just some reason always misbehaving. Mm-hmm. But developing this program has changed my perspective, and now I get excited. It's like, oh, cool, like another detective work. Like, let's figure out why are they acting like that? Can I figure out a way that I can change things to help them, in any kind of way. So it's just made teaching to me just so much more personal.
I think that's incredible. And I think that, a lot of colleges now, dance programs have where you can get teacher certification, or they teach, pedagogy and require some type of hours within the school system or community to teach younger kids. And I think it's, a great opportunity for them to get in at that level, when they're in college before they venture out. So I'm definitely going to post your website and that information, the certification program, in the Facebook group, because it's filled with college dancers who are trying to figure out what they're doing after they finish. And I think that would be a great something for them to look into. So, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, there's really not much more that's more fulfilling than working with a student and realizing that, what you're teaching them in class changes their life.
Yeah.
Really, really, really changes their life. It doesn't just give them the appreciation of dance, which is great in and of itself, but, what we're doing is giving them life skills that will affect them throughout, their whole life. And it's life-changing for their families too, because we give them coping skills and it's, I don't know, it's
Yeah.
the best thing I've ever done.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations to you, Tricia,
Thank you. It
on
was so
having
great
such
catching up
a
with
great,
you.
I know it was great. I do hope that our paths continue to cross throughout our dance lives and beyond. And I appreciate you giving me this time out of your oh so busy schedule to share with us everything that you've been going on. But for Soul Talk listeners, you will have access to all of Tricia's information, her websites, and her social media handles. And I encourage you to really get into everything that she has to offer. As you hear, it's very life-changing. So thanks again, Tricia. And until next
Thank
time,
you.
happy dancing, folks.